Jomo Kenyatta.
World-renowned as one of Africa's 20th century political celebrities, he was the OG of OGs. He became the symbol around whom the Kenya independence movement rallied. Internationally exposed, loads of aura, and twice married into the Kiambu Mafia, Jomo Kenyatta became the person the Africans and the treacherous British imperialists managed to agree upon. But soon after independence, and probably under the influence of both the Kiambu Mafia and their British imperialist puppet masters, Jomo began to forget Wanjiku, exchanging his outstanding liberation credentials for a complete makeover as a neo-colonial collaborator. The Kenyatta cronies questionably accumulated obscene amounts of land, engaged in devastating poaching activities, normalized political assassinations, put democracy on indefinite hold, and basically installed the state capture virus that is still corrupting Kenya's software to this day.
Jomo Kenyatta, the compromised liberation icon. Score 3.4. Daniel Mwai.
The accidental president who seized the opportunity and quite literally almost milked it to death. Mwai is seated to the presidency upon the death of Jomo Kenyatta, and so did not have to immediately deal with the vagaries of an election. Mwai decided on a philosophy of nyayo, meaning follow in Jomo Kenyatta's footsteps. Things rapidly went from not so bad to very, very bad. Initially underestimated by the entrenched Kiambu Mafia, Mwai soon went full flip mode, built his own Kalenjin Mafia, and turned what many thought would be a quick transition into 24 years of institutional decay, where corruption became the main industry. Goldenberg, for example, while democracy and human rights became very optional. Dude had literal detention cum torture chambers in the middle of Nairobi City. What? But one of the worst things the Mwai regime did was to cultivate an ambitious up-and-coming politician, whom he allegedly sponsored to do a course in ethnic incitement and genocide under the tutelage of Felician Kabuga, the planner and financier of the Rwanda genocide. The upstart politician was none other than William Ruto. More on him later.
Daniel Mwai, the professor of political survival. Score 2.3.
Before we go any further, let's lay down some benchmarks for perspective. He took a small, swampy port island with no natural resources except its location and its people, from third world to a first world flex in one lifetime. He is widely recognized as one of the most outstanding leaders of all time.
From Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, the statecraft legend. Score 8.8.
He actually managed to establish a clean African government and build a cohesive African nation. Plus, they found diamonds, and he resisted the temptation to turn the country into a personal piggy bank, instead using the wealth for Botswana's common good.
Seretse Khama, the diamond-level leader. Score 8.6.
The first black president of the United States of America, who also happens to have a direct Kenya connection, was elected twice. Twice! He managed to run things in the largest economy with outstanding poise and competence. Plus, Obama got Osama, which, by the way, is a really, really big deal.
From the US of A, Barack Obama, the smooth operator. Score 7.9.
And now, back to the Kenyans.
Mwai Kibaki.
Guys, this one will probably hurt the most, but we have decided there shall be no sacred cows. Mwai Kibaki was Daniel Moi's Kithure Kindiki. There, we said it. It's okay if you need to pause the video, take a deep breath, and let that sink in for a moment. Kibaki could never claim ignorance, like perhaps someone like Daniel Moi might. Kibaki was a first-class economist who even worked with Tom Mboya and others on the legendary sessional paper number 10 of 1965. Yet, he was part of the clique that approved the recommendations of the Degwa Commission, basically legalizing conflict of interest for public office holders. Kibaki also served as Daniel Moi's vice president for 10 years, during which he also helped turn Kenya into a single-party state by supporting the infamous Section 2A of the old Constitution. Furthermore, though he was elected to the presidency as the NARC flag bearer on strong public anti-corruption sentiments, he quickly allowed the coalition agreements to be undermined and became the head of the "it's our turn to eat" corruption machine. Yes, he revived the economy, rehabilitated and expanded infrastructure, and brought back free primary school education. All very good things. But he failed to follow through on justice pledges and instead oversaw the continuation of grand corruption with various scams, most famous of which was Anglo Leasing. Then came the unpardonable sin. By grabbing power in 2007 in what was a blatantly flawed presidential election, he violated the last shred of trust the people had in him. And by doing so, he showed that when it came to democracy and respect for the sovereign will of the voters, he was very much in the same mold as Daniel Moi or any other dictator. The ensuing post-election violence inflicted a socio-economic wound that Kenya has neither healed from nor properly dealt with. Under Kibaki, Kenyans went from being considered the most optimistic people in the world to utter devastation and disillusionment. And just for the record, we credit Raila Odinga and other reformers for the 2010 Constitution, not Mwai Kibaki.
Mwai Kibaki, the elite corruption practitioner. Score 3.9. Uhuru Kenyatta.
Born into the deep state of the freshly minted independent Kenya and quickly introduced to, among others, Uncle Moi, Uncle Kibaki, Baba President, and Gangsta Mama Ngina, Uhuru is as dynasty as one can be. With all the competing interests and relationship pressures this guy had to balance all his life, it is a wonder he actually managed to do relatively well. While consuming generous amounts of uji, possessed of a powerful aura, he delivered major infrastructure, an overpriced SGR, expanded telecommunications, and especially internet access by running up a crazy amount of debt on the national credit card. The Uhuru regime also brought us the disastrous 2017 rigged and subsequently annulled election. Chief Justice David Maraga and the Supreme Court told him to repeat the assignment, and despite totally losing his aura for a moment, Uhuru managed to keep the country fairly stable. By the way, Kamwana did all this while his deputy president and fellow ICC suspect was busy stabbing him in the back the whole time.
Uhuru Kenyatta, the dynasty brat with a good heart. Score 5.1. William Ruto.
Kama muko na shida na Wakikuyu, hamuko na shida na Wakikuyu kuliko sisi Wakalenjin. Tuko na shida kubwa zaidi. Sawa sawa? Lakini ikifika mahali unatofautisha maneno, unaweka maneno ya tofauti za kijamii kando, unatafuta serikali kwanza, kwa sababu ile serikali itakusaidia kutatua matatizo ulio nayo.
Well, based on your very Adolf Hitler-esque speech, it seems your reason for seeking the presidency was and is to pursue some perverse tribalistic agenda. Therefore, when added to the other regrettable things your government has brought, including broken promises, lies, rampant corruption, abductions, goons, insecurity, murders, and a general descent into a nightmarish mess of constitution violations that has left Kenya almost unrecognizable, it is absolutely clear to us that you are totally unfit to hold any public office, let alone the presidency.
William Ruto, the one-time malignant narcissist. Score 2.1.
Looking at the combined leaderboard, Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore tops the list, while William Ruto of Kenya comes in last. Of the Kenyan presidents, Uhuru Kenyatta is the best so far, but still far from the best when internationally benchmarked.
Bonus segment.
Looking forward to the 2027 general elections, remember, leadership matters a lot because those leading have a tremendous effect on both the culture and the outcomes of the people they lead. As of this recording, the only aspirants on the displayed list who we believe would genuinely uphold the Constitution and deliver impartial justice for all are David the Justice Maraga, Okia No Nonsense Omtata, and Edwin the Movement Sifuna.
Care enough about your future and the future of your loved ones to vote wisely, okay?